I'm CM Magana from the Strange and Unusual podcast, a proud member of the Gonna Geek Network, just like the show you're listening to now. The opinions expressed are those of each individual host. Check out all the other podcasts at GonnaGeekNetwork.com and get ready because geekiness begins in 3, 2, 1.
This is it. The part of your week where you get to put your headphones on, relax, and listen to a bunch of geeks geek out about geeky things. They're witty.
He loves him some Katy Perry because she kissed a girl and she liked it.
They're crazy.
I like Nickelback personally, but, I'm the fuddy-duddy who likes episode 1.
And sometimes I leave you wondering, what the f***?
I'm pretty sure that here we were starting the hashtag movement, Bring Back Slave Ferrell.
Gonna Geek Productions presents the official GonnaGeek.com show.
Hello and welcome to episode 191 of the official GonnaGeek.com show. My name is Jondrew, and with me is my co-host, Chris Ferrell.
The award-winning Chris Ferrell. Due respect, please. Due respect.
That is very true, and I apologize for playing it down. You are an award-winning podcaster, as well as the Stargate pioneer.
Call me Rebel.
Do
you have a cause?
I was going to say, are you a rebel without a cause?
No, I have several causes. I like Nickelback, I like the Phantom Menace, and I have been banned from the podcast awards.
Oh, is that why you are dressed so amazingly today?
Dude, this is my new look. I am the Rebel. You will address me as such. The Rebel.
The Rebel or just Rebel? What are we going with here?
The Rebel.
Or is it the Rebel SP?
I don't know who SP is. It's the Rebel.
Oh, the Rebel. The Rebel.
We're going to have to change the intro, boss man.
I just think that he's just blocked. That's my opinion.
Blocked, banned, whatever you want to call it. I am the Rebel because I am blocked. Because I told the truth. And I will continue to tell the truth.
Rebel, you can't handle the truth.
All right. Well, if you wanted to reach a show where we are all blocked, you will definitely have to look elsewhere because while SP and myself are indeed blocked, the one and only Chris Ferrell is not blocked.
One would think that it should have happened by now. I don't know.
Okay. So let's just lay it all out here on the table. Let's just put it out on the table right now. There's a little system of some form on Twitter that you can go and block people. And SP and I were blocked by somebody. So there you go. That was laying it all on the table.
Blocked without cause. Therefore, I'm the Rebel.
This is the new movie featuring the Rebel.
All right. So if you didn't gather, I'm back in the studio this week. Had a lot of fun last week with being on the road and somehow making this all happen, which was crazy, but much better to be back in my own studio. Happy to be here, seeing myself in SP sunglasses.
Just shining back at you, and you know what's the funny part?
What?
Your part of the window is blocked right now, so you are not seeing yourself in my sunglasses.
All right, let's go ahead and move on to some news. Here we go. So this week in the news, we'll go ahead and start off with a little bit of a follow-up, actually, to something we kind of talked about a long time ago. We've talked before about distracted driving and how it's a problem for car manufacturers. How are we going to get the distracted driving solved? And there's been some different things thrown out. Well, Nissan has a prototype. That's right. In the UK, on the Nissan Jukes in the UK, they are prototyping a box that you put your phone in. That's right. They are actually talking about making this cage for your device that will kill all EM so that it does not work at all. So you're not going to get any incoming signal at all. It's going to make it completely non-functional as far as receiving and sending signals go. And the idea is that they're doing this so that people aren't tempted to grab their phone and answer texts and things like that. And obviously, you don't have to use it, but yeah, people are calling this a Faraday cage. So if you ever heard of that before, obviously that's not what they're calling it, but that's what a lot of people are referring to it. And it's just an interesting thing for them to be trying. Now, for me personally, I think okay, that's actually a really good idea, because a lot of people are addicted to grabbing their phone. It's a habit. They're just used to having it sitting on their seat next to them, grabbing it and taking a look. So this kind of kills that urge if it's not like, you're reacting to a text all the time. Now, people may still pull it out and there you go, you'll get your EM signal back. But they have decided to include in this prototype a connection so that you can still hook it up and use music and things like that. So it'll still work with the infotainment system. But yeah, aside from that, it's not going to get a signal. Chris, what's your thoughts?
Dumb, 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 dumb. Dumb, 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 dumb. It's dumb.
Okay.
It's dumb.
Okay.
Okay.
What is this, a clock? Are you a clock now?
Yes, I'm a clock. So in all seriousness, all right, this is something that looks great on paper. We're making this great initiative here to prevent distracted drivers from being a problem. Until you go and look at the way a lot of people use their cell phones nowadays. You're starting to see Android Auto and Apple Car and things like that be built into these vehicles now, so people can use Apple Maps, Google Maps, Spotify, Apple streaming music, things like that. You lose all of these services. Yeah, it's great. I can plug my phone into my center console and be able to put up my Apple Maps on screen that I can't get a signal to because I just put my phone in a Faraday cage. No, it sounds great on paper. You think you're solving something. Really, all you're doing is breaking all of the connected car capabilities you get through things like Android Auto and Apple Car and things like that. It's a concept. It's just going to be there like, oh, look what we've done, and they won't actually do anything. If they put this in production cars everywhere in the near future, I would be shocked.
I actually agree. Like I said, I think it's good as a sort of first step to try to break that habit. Where my mind went, though, was so that you could keep all that good connectivity. Like you said, you got streaming options, things like that. I think it's a different option. You don't kill the phone. Put it in a lock where as soon as you start to drive, the box locks, right? To make it so that it automatically locks. So you still can't grab it. It's still accomplishing the same thing, but you're keeping all your connectivity to the infotainment systems. I think that's the better option there, is an automatic lock.
Or just get some self-control. Come on.
It's easy to say, but people are addicted to their phones. I gotta say, anytime I've gone somewhere without my phone, it's like I'm constantly kind of feeling for it. I'm just so used to it. And I'm not one of those people who are constantly taking selfies or posting what I've been eating. But it is something that the addiction is real, Chris.
If you really want to do it, there's apps you can get and things like that will see when you're moving, lock your phone out, things like that. But the automobile makers, it is not their responsibility to keep you from using your phone. They can put alternatives in there by trying to put the infotainment centers in there so everything is pulled off of there, so that if you get a text message, it pops up there in your center console, stuff like that. But don't put the onus on the automobile makers to prevent you from being a moron.
I'm not saying the onus is on them. I just think that it's actually a good idea. I genuinely think that them exploring these options are a good idea, because some people, they recognize it and they know, okay, I might reach for it. This is a good idea. I would like to just be able to have a box that I can lock it up. And I think, I don't know, I'm like half behind this idea, because I think there's people that it would be beneficial. I would be 100% behind the idea of giving installing in vehicles as a standard feature, an option. Even if you just take that center console and you just make it so it's a standard thing where you can have it so when your vehicle drives, it automatically locks, and you can have it where it's just acting like a regular center console. That's the way that I think that it should be, because then it is, again, optional. It's not something that's required, but those who want to use it can use it, just like this cage. So I think there's really, really, really potential for this to be a solid idea. It's just got to be worked on a bit.
I'm sure there's apps that'll use your GPS to determine you're going faster than, say, 10 miles an hour, and lock your phone so you can't get into it or something like that. I think that's a better way to go versus trying to build in locking hardware in my car that keeps me from getting to my phone if I really need it for an emergency or something.
Yeah. All right, let's go to the Rebel without a cause here. What's up?
Okay, I got 4 things, but before I say the 4 things, I'm going to respond to your lockbox issue. Say you've got your phone in your lockbox. You're driving along the freeway. You're just jamming to your tunes, which are coming from the phone in your lockbox. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, a deer jumps in front of your car and smash! You just completely destroy the front end of the car. The deer's all over the highway. And oh my gosh, you have to call the cops. You have to call 911. Where's your phone? Oh, it's in the lockbox. Still locked. Oh, I'll just unlock it. But you can't, because all the electrical systems in the entire car are shredded because that battery is in the front of the engine compartment and the deer has shredded the battery out of the car. It's not a feasible option, Stephen.
For those listening on audio, Steven is holding up 2 AA batteries right now.
Seriously, it's easy to overcome. You know how much power that lockbox would take? It would take so little power that you just have to have batteries right in the console. I gotta disagree. I totally disagree. I think that I think this extreme scenario is that it's very extreme with a little bit of like backup batteries. It's no problem at all. Or on the flip side, you make it so that you can access it, like maybe on the back. So what's the
purpose of having the lockbox?
Let me explain. Let me explain. You put it in a place that you're not going to easily reach from the driver, like the back. You know how the consoles, like in any modern large vehicle, go down, and it's like if you make it at the very back bottom where it's inconvenient, right? The back bottom, like you actually have to reach down. It accomplishes the same thing for these people who just want to be like, I want to make sure that my phone is not like I'm not having this reaction to want to grab it. So I totally disagree with your logic on this.
Or just put your damn phone down and drive your car.
Again, I think it's easier said than done. Like, not for me, but there are people who I think genuinely just have this habit. They just have this habit, and they just like, if they just had this way that they could just put it in there, they would use it. So I don't know. I think it's a great idea with a little bit of enhancement, a lot of enhancement.
I don't think it's a good idea at all, but I'm going to leave that a lie and go to my 4 other points. First of all, is it Nissan or is it Nissan?
Nissan.
It's Nissan because you're talking about the UK. Second of all, I could build a Faraday cage. You want a Faraday cage? I will build you a Faraday cage. So you have a Faraday cage in your car. So that's 2. Number 3, you keep on saying EM. What is EM? It's electromagnetic. That stands for the electromagnetic spectrum. And that's all the radio frequencies that are traveling around your body right now, headed to your phone, headed to your Wi-Fi router, headed everywhere. And that is what you're talking about, trying to block those. You didn't scientifically describe what the waves were that you were talking about. Number 4, the last one, is they're doing this in a Juke. Who cares? The Jukes suck.
I like the Rebel.
Why do you think that they're testing it on the Juke? Because it's the smallest sample size. But
no,
okay.
It's because it's what millennials like is the Juke. We're not the target demographic for the Juke.
Okay, and in the chat, I'm going to totally disagree here. We've got listener Dane saying people have to take responsibility for themselves. Yeah, that's a great concept to apply to smoking, to alcoholism. Like, it's an addiction, right? And people are addicted to their phones, right? I know that they're more extreme, but you can't use that logic. Yeah, take responsibility for yourself. You know, you're an alcoholic, right? They need an aid to get them over that. And this is what I'm saying is people are legitimately addicted to their phones. You do the research. People are legitimately addicted to their phones. It is much easier said than done for these people. And these are the type of people that I'm saying. The people who have a problem, they try, and they just like, I need that extra step, that extra thing. And that's what I think. I think that's the type of people there.
How is this going to help them? They're just going to be jonesing for their phone that doesn't work.
I've got a cure. Go watch the opening scenes of Doctor Strange.
I have not seen it, but okay.
It's a PSA right there.
I just think I don't know. I think again we're looking at this from a bigger, like a more mature mindset. The people like ours, right? You know, all of us here who have actually come from a time before there was phones. It's easier for us to say that. The people who are growing up with these things, they are very much addicted to these things. And I think that it's a good idea if they could start including this as an option. And then, you know, why are people nobody would complain. It'd be like, oh, you gave me an option that I'm not using, you know.
Steven, why put it in there? They're not going to use it if they're addicted to their phone.
They're not addicted to the phone. They're addicted to the information exchange. You pull that information exchange off the phone into some sort of heads-up display, so you're not looking down, you're looking up, you can deal with it, and you're not distracted.
Well, I think that you guys are speaking out of a place of not realizing the level of addictions, but that's okay. We'll move on to the next point here, which is Virgin Galactic 2, and SP is very much addicted to this.
Who?
I am.
Who's SP?
The Rebel.
The Rebel is very much addicted to this.
Thank you.
The Rebel is addicted to this, yes. And space is what we're talking about, and specifically space tourism. Now, we've been talking an awful lot, or this so-called SP, I don't know who that is, has been talking an awful lot about SpaceX, space tourism, going around the moon, going to Mars, that sort of thing. Well, let's not forget Virgin Galactic with its Spaceship 2, and it made the first flight test of the revamped re-entry system. This is via an article on space.com by Irene Klotz, which was on May 1st, 2017. I just want to point this out. This is why we didn't talk about it last week. 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. Yep. At the same time we're podcasting. Just want to point that out. Okay. So what happened is the second Spaceship 2, which by the way is called VSS Unity, took the skies over Mojave, California on Monday, May 1st for the first test flight of the craft's atmospheric re-entry system, which was modified after the fatal test flight in 2014. We're 3 years removed from that now, which was destroyed the original ship, which was named VSS Enterprise. The new spaceship, Unity, took off beneath the White Knight II carrier aircraft from the Mojave Air and Spaceport. Reminder, there is an air and spaceport in the United States for the spacecraft's fourth glide flight. It had pilots Mark Stuckey and Mike Masushki. I just completely butchered your name, Mike. I'm sorry. At the controls, Unity was released at an altitude of about 51,000 feet. Now, gang, 51,000 feet is a bit above even what those transoceanic flights actually travel at. So way up there. And it began its glide test flight. Now, the primary goal of this flight test was to test the ship's revamped re-entry system. If you remember, the VSS Spaceship 2 had this feathering system, which the entire rear end of the spacecraft's wings basically niched up in a 90-degree angle, and that is to better control re-entry through the ionosphere. This is a quote from the Virgin Galactic Chief Executive Officer, George Whitesides. The flight today successfully tested the feather system in flight for the first time on the VSS Unity airframe, though it had been tested many times on the ground. I've actually seen video of it. It worked fine in the hangar. It is designed to prevent applying the feather system early, and that is what happened during the VSS Enterprise fatal flight. As planned, during today's flight, the vehicle wasn't in conditions to need the inhibitor. Overall, the test met all the objectives, and we are now looking forward to taking the next step in the flight test program, Whiteside said. And then going on, by the way, he earlier on in some hearings in front of Congress a couple of weeks ago said he expects commercial passenger service to be underway at Virgin Galactic before the end of 2018, which is coincidentally about the same time that SpaceX wants to throw a couple of people around the dark side of the moon. So that's interesting that it will all be happening about the same time. So gang, what do you think? Are you excited about this VSS Unity Spaceship 2 doing its testing? Are you excited about the PR coming from this, or do you think SpaceX has it all sewn up?
Never say that someone's got it all sewn up, because They never truly do. That's the thing. There's always going to be competition. There's always unexpected things that can happen. You could be, it's tortoise in the hair kind of analogy. Let's go with that. I mean, I'm excited. Space race, I'm all for it.
I think that I need myself a lockbox to put my spaceship in because I'm too addicted to it. That's what I need.
If you keep saying lockbox, I'm going to call you Al Gore. And yes, that is a 90s joke.
You know what I want?
Strategery.
I want some bigger internet tubes. That's what I want. Bigger internet tubes. My internet tubes are clogged.
Are you going to start telling us about Man Bear Pig now if you're channeling Al Gore? I'm just curious.
Well, you know my opinion. I actually agree with Chris on this here, and for me, I just think any development with these private space programs is good development. I think it's nice to see this competition within space. So I'm happy to see this. I will get behind if there's another company wanted to come into it, I'll get behind them too. I think this is an area that we very much need this sort of development.
So let me give you a little difference between the two. This one, you're just going to shoot up into space and come right back down, but it's at a light cost of $250,000 per seat per trip, whereas you're talking millions of dollars to go up with SpaceX Dragon capsule. So there's a little difference in price. You know, one might be affordable to some of us that have made sound investments, and one is not within reach to normal mortals.
But for a rebel without a cause, definitely is.
I'll just knock out whoever's supposed to go in there and climb in the seat.
I would say what he would say to them, but this is a family-friendly podcast, so I don't want Steven to have to bleep me.
No, thank you. I do appreciate that. I don't like to bleep anybody, but okay, so that's kind of cool. I think that's something that we will look forward to seeing what SP thinks when he goes.
I still don't know who this SP is. Call me the Rebel.
The Rebel, when the Rebel goes. All right, Chris, what do you got for your news point? I know it's a bit of a double shot.
It is a bit of a double shot. So, guys, one thing you have to have learned if you've been watching this show for probably about the past year and a half or so is I really like these virtual assistants, things like the Amazon Echo, the Google Home, and then the rumors that start coming out about new devices. Well, I teased last week that there was a rumor that Amazon was going to be putting out a new Echo soon that would presumably have a touchscreen. So I think it was this morning or late over the weekend, I see something pop up on my Google Assistant that's giving me links and says, hey, leaks are out of the new Amazon Echo. And I went, what? So yes, in fact, there are leaks of the new Amazon Echo, which is going to be called Night. They're expecting it to release later this month. And I can credit this to AFTV News is where I found it. So here's where it gets interesting. I was right based off the rumors I'd heard. We are going to be getting an Amazon Echo device that does have a touch screen. The rumor is it'll be about 7 inches in size. Now, if you guys want to see it, I do have a leaked image of what it looks like. You can credit EV Leaks on Twitter for pulling this. AFTV News also had a lower res image, but Evan over at EV Leaks was able to get a better image. So guys, here's what we're looking at for the new Amazon Night, as what the code name is. You can see pretty big 7-inch touchscreen on there, pretty decent speaker set below it. I'm not sure whether it's going to have to be plugged in all the time or not. They didn't know. They are thinking that the screen does have a camera below it, so you'll be able to do video calls on here, in addition to potentially voice calls. No word whether that's going to be something locked into the Amazon ecosystem or whether you'll be able to put on a version of Skype or anything like that. Now, price, no one's really sure. The estimate is expected to be above 200, but probably below 300. So I'm guessing you're looking at $299.99, or if they're feeling real brave, maybe $249.99, and they might do some kind of payment plans on Amazon's site for it. But this is kind of what I've been wanting to do to upgrade my kitchen, is to put this in there, because it'd be kind of nice if you're cooking to throw the recipe of what it is you're cooking up on this flat screen, or have the timers displayed on this flat screen while you're working around in the kitchen. So yes, it'll notify you when it's done by voice, but you can just glance at a screen and see what's going on. But maybe I'm just being weird. Maybe I just love Amazon stuff so much. Guys, what do you think about this touchscreen Amazon device? You interested in it?
I'm not interested in it because it's not white.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned SP. It will be available in black and white. I only had the black image that I saved to my hard drive to share here, but Evan Blass of EV Leaks did have both the black and white images up on his Twitter. Head on over to @EVLeaks on Twitter and you can see it for yourself in high res.
Well, I'm all in if it's white then.
If it's all white.
I would have thought you would have wanted black to go with your sunglasses and leather jacket.
Everybody has
stunning
black.
shades.
I want to go white. I want to be the rebel. I want to go outside the norm. I want to be unconventional. I want to go the white versus the black version of the Amazon Night.
Here's what makes this device killer if they do it. If there's other devices out there, I don't remember if I talked about on here a Kickstarter project for the Clarity device, which has Amazon Echo and Google Assistant built into it as an Android tablet that's mobile with speakers. It also has batteries built in it, so you can unplug it and carry it around. If you can do that with this new Amazon device, that's a pretty killer feature because then you can literally move it anywhere around the house you need it and then plug it back in when you're done.
So let me ask you this. We talked briefly before about it. What do we think about the camera aspect? Because that one has a camera too, you said, right?
Yes. Now, slightly different purpose. This isn't really designed for what the look is, which is fashion and taking pictures of your clothes and getting fashion advice. This is more like what you're seeing on your cell phones and your tablets right now, which is a camera for voice chat with other people. Video chat, with other people. So I'm less concerned about it. Now, that being said, if they wanted to make a killer feature on it, they'd give me a little shutter I can put over the camera. So if I don't want something to potentially trigger it, I could put that over it. But again, it's a matter of how much do you trust Amazon in that regard, because between them and Google, they probably know everything they need to know about me. And in all honesty, if someone hacked into Amazon servers to get access to my devices on there, I think Amazon has bigger problems because that shakes customer confidence in buying products from their website anymore.
Well, didn't we have a bunch of celebrities that their phones from Apple, another big company with security that
Apple
you would
doesn't
think
do
would be?
software well.
Well, I'm
not
just
joking.
saying.
That's one of the big knocks. But there's a difference here. Amazon is built around how secure Amazon Web Services are, how secure their website is, how they protect your data. It's in their best interest here because if there's a breach here, it ruins everything for Amazon. You're going to be doing, oh, please forgive us. It'll never happen again. Here's how we're going to mitigate this forever.
Just put a bumper on it. It will solve it, right?
Yeah, you're holding it the wrong way.
I do though, like I gotta say, anything with cameras though, I do think it's good that they give an option of a privacy cover. Like it makes it inconvenient to a degree, but like I'll admit it, I admit it plenty of times. These cameras that I use that you see right here, I end up every time after we finish, I flip them to face the wall. Every single time I make them face the wall. So if somebody hacks in, they'll actually see behind the TV that I'm looking at right now, there is an advertisement, the old gonnageek.com poster that I had behind me many moons ago. So they'll see that. So if they hack in, it's a free advertisement for me.
I just come down to my studio shirtless all the time. I don't do anything with the camera.
Why would you ever sit in front of your camera shirtless, especially if you're, capable of streaming video?
Maybe you're just dead sexy and you don't care about the consequences of sitting in front of your camera with no shirt on at random times and don't have a worry that someone on the internet might catch the fact that you sat in front of your camera with no shirt on and have an image that they share with people and laugh about.
You are just a crazy individual.
Where does this stuff come from? I do have one more thing on these digital assistants, so let's get back on point here.
Okay.
I did talk about last week how we're expecting Apple's going to be coming out with their Siri-enabled speaker, and there's some rumors that have come out on that one. But here's one that I hadn't really heard much about until I saw an article again pop up in my Google Assistant news. Microsoft getting into digital assistant land. They're teaming up with Harman Kardon, and they gave a first look at their new speaker that's going to integrate Cortana voice assistants to be their competition to the Amazon Echo, the Google Home, the presumed Siri speaker, and all sorts of other assistants that are out there. This speaker is going to be called the Invoke. With that, you'll be able to ask Cortana to play music, set calendar appointments, check traffic, listen to the news, control smart home thermostats, and even more is what Microsoft said in their blog post. Now, Invoke does have one unique feature that other folks don't. And this is something I kind of think is interesting from a podcaster standpoint.
Oh, I know what it is. They ripped off Madonna's Vogue to make it the theme song, right?
That's exactly what they did, I think.
Yes! Sold!
So no, in all seriousness, they are going to have Skype built into the Microsoft Invoke speaker, meaning that if I was in my kitchen and I was too lazy to go downstairs and I wanted to podcast with Steven and the Rebel, I could just have them call me on my speaker and just podcast from my kitchen. I'm sure the audio quality is going to be great as I'm frying stuff up in the frying pan, anything like that. But it is a definitive advantage that no one else has. Google Home doesn't have Hangouts built into it. The Amazon devices don't have any kind of voice chat system like that built into it. So it is something that is unique. Now, we don't know a ton of information yet. Microsoft did say at the annual Build conference, which starts on Wednesday, they'll put out some more information in regards to the Invoke speaker. But one thing to keep in mind, they're going to need a lot of help from developers, a lot of developer support, especially if you want to play nice with smart homes. Because remember, while Alexa has tons of products in there, that's because they had an open API that they allowed developers to make stuff for. When Google first launched Google Home, API wasn't open. They supported a few things and gradually opened it up to expand to additional devices. Microsoft is starting from scratch right now with their new device. So they need to open up that API and go out to developers and say, hey, we need you guys to build for this. Make it so that your smart home devices work with that. And if you're smart, you also make it so that that works with your PC as well. Because remember, the Microsoft Assistant is built into all Windows 10 PCs. So you could have it set up also so you could talk to your PC and tell it to turn your lights on in your living room or something like that. And then you can expand smart devices out to pretty much any device you have in your house. I'm very intrigued by this, but I have a feeling it's going to be A, expensive, B, have not as much developer support as it needs, and it might be too little too late. And I think the same thing about the Siri speaker as well.
Yeah, I agree with you, Chris. I think like this is something that's been long excited for me is to see what Microsoft's going to do with it. I've actually talked about it on the show before, and I think there's a lot of really good potential, but again, maybe too little too late. And I think the Skype is an angle that they could definitely go for. Now, the problem is that Google could counter with Hangouts really easily, right? Like, and that would be an interesting option. But what would be nice about it would be if people had this, like, and they wanted to just quickly call family, and it's sitting right there ready to go, easy to go. Like, of course you could do it with your phone, but if the audio quality is better than a speaker, that's absolutely is better than your phone, then it might help. But I think it's going to be really hard for these people to break into the market. I think Amazon is like, look at Google. How hard has it been for them to break in? It's Google.
Like you said, Skype is a cool play, but remember, we just talked about the leaked Amazon Echo that's coming out that's going to have a camera in it and presume video chat. So it would seem they're building some kind of service to support that now. Is it going to be as ubiquitous as something like Skype or potentially Hangouts? I don't know, but you could very well see Amazon, put out another app that is Amazon Video Chat or something you can get for your iOS and Android devices to make it work. I don't know what path they're going, but Amazon's already headed down that path also. And if this truly does launch either this month or next month, it's surely going to beat the Microsoft speaker to market.
That's true.
Now, if it can do this, I'll be impressed. Cortana, flush the toilet. Okay. Seriously though, guys, do either of you two have any Harman Kardon or JBL speakers in your house?
My car has Harman Kardon speakers in it.
I have... No, I don't. I was going to make Mark, whatever his name was, but I couldn't remember his last name. The guy from
Mark
NCIS.
Harmon.
Thank you, Mark Harmon. Yes.
So, Chris, how do you like the sound from that speaker?
They're car speakers. They do what they need to.
So I have a JBL. It's a few years old, but it's a Bluetooth speaker and put it up in the bathroom so I can link my devices to it when I'm running around the bedroom. And it's actually pretty decent, but it's at the higher end. And then I got a cheap, I will admit it's cheap, 5.1 speaker system. And the only thing good about that speaker system is the subwoofer on it. So the subwoofer is pretty good, but the other 5 speakers are pretty crap. So I think that if they're going to take a charge at the speakers that are in the Echo device itself right now, I think they've got a little bit of work to do, because after experiencing several different speakers, the Echo has a pretty good speaker for what it is. And I think that's the mark for everybody to shoot for. And besides that, the other thing that you were talking about, the sound quality, the microphone. None of these, they're just stupid, simple condenser microphones that are in all these devices. I think that would be the next thing going forward in order to get the great Skype quality back and forth, just even with a simple call. We have the technology right now to do it either with digital processing on board the device itself or getting a better microphone in there. And guys, it's going to be the next step. The people that do that are going to get a little edge up on everybody else. It's just the Rebels take.
And I agree. I think the audio pickup needs to be improved a little bit on some of these devices, but it's going to have to be through primarily processing, because you don't want anything directional with a device that's going to sit on your counter. Like, the reality is these people aren't, the general public is not smart enough to know exactly where to sit in front of these devices. Or
no, but it could have several different modes, and it could digitally flip to those modes while you're talking.
Bear in mind, Amazon has already been doing all sorts of different software updates and stuff for all of their voice devices. I mean, they put something out there so that the dots and the Echo Primes, for lack of a better term, it would be able to tell which one you were closest to if you triggered multiple in one room and then defer to that system. So Amazon is working on optimizing their mic array. And remember, I don't think I mentioned on this show, they're basically selling dev kits of the microphone arrays they use to build Amazon Voice Services devices so that vendors can build their own devices to get a better idea of how that hardware works and to better optimize their software for it. So Amazon's going down the path of trying to get there. It's just a matter of how long does it take.
Guys, remember a few years ago when they were putting together these clusters of Xboxes or PlayStations? Imagine the clusters of Amazon Echoes or Knights or whatever it is. Just imagine the computing power that's going to be. Matter of fact, the computing power that will be available in just a few short years, maybe it's going to be able to design a framework for an alternate reality. I wonder.
To find out more about said framework, check out Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. This is the official Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. podcast on the Gonna Geek Network, which you can find at GonnaGeekNetwork.com. But next up in our news, we have a couple of quick picks for you here in our extra section. And we're going to start off by a couple of Facebook things. Interesting enough, Facebook could potentially be launching original programming by June. That's right. The rumor mill is picking up that they're going to be dropping a pile of content in June and that they've been working on some things. Facebook has actually made it pretty well known for a while that they think the video side of things is a big part of their future. So, of course, with everybody else, all these other people offering original content, you can bet Facebook's going to try to get involved with that, because the more time that people are spending on Facebook, the more data they're getting to mine, right?
Well, and Twitter and
I just heard today that, and I can't cite the source, but there's a new Facebook rewards card out there that you can use at different stores. And of course, Facebook is trying to mine your data with that.
You mean like Google's already doing by knowing what store I walk into and tracking it on my timeline in Google Maps?
Or sending me a survey 10 minutes later?
Have you been to this store? Yes.
That's absolutely correct. Facebook does not have that same fidelity of information, so they're searching for different ways to do it. Big data is big money, and these guys are going after it however they can. Eventually, you're not going to be able to hide from it. There's no way, if you're going to have a phone, that you're going to be able to live off the grid. But for now, you can choose your privacy settings, at least for now.
Yeah, Facebook relies on you checking yourself in to get an idea of where things are. But if you have friends like mine that I had for the past few years who like to randomly say they're with you in various locations, it really throws off Facebook's big data mining. Because, for instance, a year ago, while I was sitting at my office here in West Virginia, somehow I got checked into the Scientology clinic in Tampa, Florida. I don't know how that happened, but evidently due to the miracle and the power of Xenu, I was able to be in two places at once.
Oh, that's
I'm
awesome.
impressed.
That's pretty impressive.
Hail Xenu, guys.
Okay, before we go to our next news point, I got to ask this question. Do we buy the whole Facebook is listening thing? Because I have seen at least two people in the recent couple months talk about how they did not Google anything. They did not search anything from any machines, any link machines. And all of a sudden they got ads for things they were talking about.
Might not necessarily be Facebook, might be another app that is sharing or selling data to Facebook.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, because Google, what it was the one situation was somebody who said that they all of a sudden started to see audio equipment ads for a particular product they had been talking about. Now, I question it to a degree as well, because I think, like, is that something that you just forgot? Maybe you just Googled, like, even once something about it, even related, right? You know, maybe all of a sudden you pulled up a page and it had it on it, and you happened to click on it, right? Like, I don't know, but maybe it's always listening. And if that's the case, I am going to say porn. So there you go.
Porn.
Next thing with Facebook is that they are purging. Now, us here at the GonnaGeek.com show don't really know much about Facebook purging accounts, but
Not at all.
apparently every now and then they like to go and kick off accounts that they believe don't meet their criteria. And okay, the joke here is that SP a long time ago got kicked off because he uses the name Stargate Pioneer, and that's against their terms. Well, leading up to a UK general election, Facebook has revealed that it has indeed purged tens of thousands of fake accounts that are believed to be in connection with, different election ploys and things like that. So interesting, very interesting. They're on another purge, and we still want our Stargate Pioneer back.
We do.
I don't know who this Stargate Pioneer is that you guys keep talking about, but if Facebook kicked him off, then Facebook is in the wrong, because I mean, Facebook, okay. False accounts are one thing, but if you are claiming to be a public figure and you want to protect yourself against hacking, the only successful way to do that is to actually do a second account and not connect it to your original account. And Facebook just refuses to take that as legitimate. And they say you can set up a public persona page, which is different than an account. And yes, I agree with that, but it's still connected to your actual account. And if I was Stargate Pioneer, I would not want to do that.
But what about the Rebel? Will the Rebel do it?
Oh, the Rebel's not on Facebook. The Rebel will never be on Facebook.
When's the Rebel going to be on Twitter or like Instagram, anything like that?
I'm busy driving my motorcycle and putting my phone in a lockbox with a Faraday cage.
And speaking uncomfortable truths to certain Twitter accounts.
Oh, snap. Okay, so next news point that we have here, and actually the last one of the night, is we all know the wonderful thing that is a Mac. Everybody wants to get a Mac because Macs are totally 100% safe, and you can trust them without antivirus. You can trust them just to blindly go and do whatever you want. They're 100% safe, right? Right, Chris?
Yes, I think there is nothing that can befall you when you use a Mac in the way of viruses. And in fact, there was a conversation I had with someone in my real life job last week who's like, yeah, I told my daughter to get a Mac because she can't get viruses that way. And you saw literally every engineer in the room go,
yeah, so this is what happened. Apparently, Macs definitely do have problems, including apparently the app Handbrake, so the program Handbrake, that's a video conversion program, was compromised on one of the download sites. I believe it was the French download site. And guess what? It had a back door in it. Yes, a back door. You know how they get into your computer? Oh, what can you do when you get in your computer? Get all your data. 10,000 times worse than a virus in a lot of ways. So, yeah, guess what? Anybody who thinks that you're using a Mac to stay safe, wrong. Because the thing that I always reminded people was that Macs used to be safe because nobody used them, right? Like, that was the thing. Nobody used them for the general public. So it was like twofold. Number one, it's going to be hard to develop because it's on an operating system that these hackers don't know much about. Number two, nobody uses it, so why am I going to spend my time writing stuff for it? But then as the market grew, the hackers brought their eyes more on it. They looked for the vulnerabilities. And that's the thing that a lot of people still forget, because for so long, it was assumed to be safe. Your Mac is not safe.
So wait a minute. What you're telling me is the French, the culture, which is supposed to be the most romantic culture out there, has a back door.
Explain.
You really want me to explain the birds and the bees to you in the audience right now?
I'm not sure this really involves birds and bees.
Okay, so no, seriously though, SP, I know that you actually have talked to me before about some people that you've known who have thought Macs were safe. Are you going to link this to them?
Yeah, probably. Macs are nice computers. They're high-end machines for the most part. They have good hardware in there because they don't want them breaking down. And when they do break down, they cost an arm and a leg. They cost an arm and a leg to begin with. But you're buying reliability and security, but I just don't think the security exists anywhere anymore. And yeah, I'll be linking to this to everybody that I know that has a Mac. Yep.
Well, and the thing is, they may not use handbrake, but the thing that I think is very important takeaway from this is that it can be done, right? Like that's always the thing, is it can be done. It's the same thing with when we talked about the stuff left on Apple phones a while back, is it can be done, right? Like I think that it's absolutely something that people should just be aware of, and you should just always operate safely. It doesn't matter if it's Windows or Mac or something else, always operate safe. It's a better way to do it. And if you can't, then maybe you could have some form of device that goes on your computer and it puts in a lockbox or something like that.
Stephen, you and I have been traveling off and on the last few weeks, last few months. Whenever you go to a hotel and you're in that public Wi-Fi and you connect your machine to it, then your antivirus, if you have some, and you should have some, probably says this is not a safe website. Don't go there. It does it on my phone. It's an Apple phone. An Apple 6 Plus. So there are security measures in place. Some you can't hurdle over, some you can. And if you do, you are at risk for being hacked, your financial information, your personal identification information being taken. And then you got a whole mess that's impossible to clean up. And you're going to be dealing with it really for the rest of your life.
Yeah, I gotta say that one of the reasons I bought myself a travel router was because it's an extra layer of protection. Now, it's not going to help against this sort of stuff, but it helps a little bit protecting what's coming in. I think because of how well that travel router, and you spoke about it a little bit ago, and I spoke about it, we all spoke about it, is I think I'm going to keep my eyes open for one that actually I can tunnel myself through VPN back to my own network. I think that's going to be my next step, is looking into what the options are for that. Because I would love it if I could encrypt my connection from my hotel room back to my space here. So if I could at least offer that level of encryption, I don't know. Is it worth it? Is it paranoid? Probably, but I might go that way.
So what are things to do? Use an antivirus. You can use a VPN to isolate yourself. Two-factor authentication. Chris talks about that all the time. Biometrics are coming. If you don't already have it, use it, and just try to be as safe as you can, because let me tell you, this digital age, we're in it right now. It's just going to get worse, especially with all these smart machines all around us. Try to protect your information as much as you can, and don't leave personal information on unprotected devices.
Yeah, and password managers are a good idea. The thing that people are always worried about is that, oh, well, then I'm just have all of my passwords in one location. Yes, but if you use a reputable password manager, you will find that they have shown their level of security for very, 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 very long time. They also offer two-factor authentication. Now, the way I look at it is the pros outweigh the cons, where it's like all of these random sites that probably don't have the best security. At least I know that I'm using 100 different passwords or 1,000 different passwords. So I'm not cross-passwording, and I can use these random secure passwords, right? So to me, the pros outweigh the cons, but you got to decide for yourself. That's something on its own. But let's go ahead and move on to Steven's geeky stuff. Here we go. Yes, indeed. It is in the Steven's geeky stuff. And today I have a bit of a weird Steven's geeky stuff because it's actually somewhat old tech. It's very old tech because it's been around for a while, but I just discovered it. As SP just nicely mentioned, I have been traveling on and off for quite some time. Over a year now, pretty much every 6 weeks I'm away. Away for a week. Now, in the summer, it's not the end of the world, but in the winter and the other time, I want to be caught up on the latest and the greatest in my television shows so I can watch the rest of the Gonna Geek network. Let's be honest, I'm sitting in my hotel room, so what do I want to do? I want to watch these two shining faces on their various shows, on Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D., on the Starling Tribune, wherever they're going to find themselves talking about TV. I want to watch that. I don't want to wait till I get back. So I'm stuck. I'm sitting there and I'm in a hotel room and I'm like, wow, this is terrible. 12 channels and I have to watch it at exactly 8 o'clock. And at 8 o'clock, my kids go to bed. So I'm going to have to talk to them and brush them off so that I can get back to my show and not miss it. So it's kind of a terrible situation for me because I'm selfish. And so I wanted to be able to watch my television shows on the road. Well, I've been thinking about it for a while. And I was saying to SP, actually, this was a few months ago, I was like, you know what, SP? I got myself some capture cards. I bought myself a Harmony Hub recently. Maybe I should get another Harmony Hub and hook that up because then I could just like control it through that and I can put it in through an HDMI capture card. And then I realized, wait a minute. There is actually a device for this called the Slingbox. and the reason I had forgotten about the Slingbox is because I actually have known about Slingbox for a very long time. My dad was a somewhat early adopter of it, but it was big, it was bulky, it was expensive. And I found out recently that they're actually sub $100 now for the basic model, where you end up having a couple of downsides that I'll talk about, but it does the purpose. The Slingbox is something that connects to the internet, connects to your DVR or whatever you've got, and it allows you to control your DVR and stream that signal to where you are. So when I was in the hotel room last week, I was able to see my DVR, control it, press play, watch my shows, delete them, everything that I could do from home, I could do on the road, which was awesome. And like I said, they're now sub 100 because they are compact as well. They are not that big anymore, which is so nice because then I could just take it and set it right next to, in my office here, I have a box that hooks up to the rest of my cable system and access all the recordings, and it works wonderful and under $100 now. Now, why are they under $100? Because they are actually headed towards end of life. The company that makes Slingbox has said that they have stopped all hardware production for Slingboxes. They apparently are not going down this route anymore. They have gone into other media ventures, but the Slingbox itself, you can actually find a couple different versions of them for under $100. There is a version that's a little bit higher that apparently you get unlimited amount of the paid version of the app. You get those included. But I was like, I'm not using this often. I'd rather save myself the $50 and I'll use the free app where it has ads all over. And I'm aware of it. That's fine. As soon as I go full screen, there's no ads. So I didn't care. I was like, I'll save myself $50, put up with the 10-second ad when I first open the program and be on with it. I'm at $50. So I don't care. It's not like I'm using it every single day. Now, what's really nice about the Slingbox, and this has been a big thing since early on, is when you're controlling your TV, it actually, if you've got a box that is recognized by the system and a cable provider that's recognized the system, it will actually show you a virtual remote. Like when I was navigating my Slingbox, it showed me on screen a remote that looked just like the remote that I have at home provided by my cable provider. And so it's awesome because all the buttons that I need are there. It's familiar. And I loved that. It worked super well. I had no problems at all. I actually didn't have that great of an internet connection, only like 15 megabits per second down, but it worked very well. And I gotta say, it actually, because I have a high amount of upload now, the amount that I can send from my home, when I'm watching my Slingbox on the road, what's it doing? It's sending data out of my house to me in the hotel. It scaled pretty high. I actually ended up, because I have the technology to do it, throttling it down just so I wasn't using excess bandwidth. So if you really want a really high quality signal, it will do it. Now, again, it's like you got to weigh the pros and the cons. Are they going to be around? Or are they not going to be around? We don't know. I'm willing to take the chance because I got it on sale. I was, like I said, under $100. And to me, it's worth it if even I get a couple of years out of it because it's going to be really nice. I am gone that much that it was really, really nice just to pause my DVRs, get all of the channels I wanted. I wouldn't have been able to watch Better Call Saul while I was away, but I was able to last week because I was away. And again, I'm gone for like a full week at a time. So for my use case, I quite liked it. And it's taking up virtually no desk space because they're so small now. And the other thing that was really nice about it is that the version I have, it does not do HDMI, which is fine and actually preferable for me to do component because my cable box that I have will simultaneously put out HDMI and component. So I just run the component cables into the Sling box. I leave the HDMI going into the TV, and I have both of them hooked up at one time. It worked really well. The only thing that I ran into was that the Sling box itself, it actually works as an IR blaster. So obviously it's got to connect to your cable box to control it and send the IR signal. And it has one built in. So you actually don't need the dongle that comes with it. There's a little dongle that comes with it so that if you have your cable box away, you can go and you can run it over there and put it on the front of the cable box. Now, before I left, I found that it actually worked really, really well. And then when I was on the road, I actually had to call my wife because my wife was at home and just ask her to face them to each other because all of a sudden it stopped working. So something just changed within the room. Maybe I bumped the keyboard. Maybe I moved something and it wasn't reflecting the same way. But for those of you who are in a scenario where they're kind of facing each other, you don't even need that annoying little dongle that you have to stick on the front. And I probably won't even use it because, it's not like I'm watching this at times that, like I'm on the road somewhere, just happen to be. I actually am going on trips and I'll just take them and I'll just put them facing each other rather than worrying about that dongle because nobody's in this den when I'm gone. So I really liked it. And again, under $100, if I get a couple of years out of it, I'll be pretty happy. And it worked really well. You can watch it through the web. You can watch it through the desktop app. There's a variety of different ways. There is a mobile app. That is the only big negative I have is that for years the mobile app has sucked. It still sucks. I couldn't actually control all of the buttons to do with my cable box, but I don't think we're going to see an improvement given their announcement about not building this hardware anymore. But I am hoping that if by chance they decide to just sort of abandon this, which they might not because like ad revenue, they're plastering ads everywhere. You'll see negative scores on all Slingbox products and apps right now because they just brought the ads in a couple of years ago without warning people. So of course everybody's going to rate it down, but I'm okay with it because I bought it knowing there was ads. Chris, I know you don't have a Slingbox, but you have used this sort of software before, right?
So that's interesting you should bring that up because you do know who the company is that bought Sling out, correct?
The parent company of DirecTV, I believe it is.
Dish Network.
Dish,
actually.
yeah, but it's not Dish. It's the parent company of Dish.
Right. So if I used to have Dish Network in my house, and one of the things that they advertised on was you get the Dish Network DVR with Sling built into it. So for a couple years when I had Dish Network, if I wanted to stream stuff off my DVR or stream live TV, I was basically using a Sling box that was built into my DVR box. I never had any issues with it, other than the fact that sometimes it'd take a little while for it to upscale up to HD quality. And it was a really great experience. I was able to pull out my cell phone if I was somewhere and pull up a football game I wanted to watch. If I was just in the basement where I don't have a TV, I could just pull up a browser window in the second monitor, watch the sports game there, anything I wanted to watch on there. Great experience. Here's why Sling boxes are no longer that popular. Well, cord cutting, number one. You've got all these other options out there like PlayStation View, Sling TV, YouTube TV, the new Hulu TV, all these other services out there where you just use the internet to stream this content that you want. And B, a lot of cable providers now, like I have Comcast, I've said that before. Part of what they build into that is the fact that I can access my DVR from anywhere on the internet. I can access live TV from my DVR on anywhere on the internet. So all the cable providers and satellite providers are pretty much building this same service and that's part of your cable subscription. So needing to have this additional box that you hang off your cable box has become superfluous in many cases.
Yeah, but in Canada where it's just new, like we just started to get that option to watch our recordings remotely, but we have to get different hardware that's got to be more expensive, and you have to make sure that you have a certain internet plan. Like they're really, like the company that brought it in is really trying to lock it down to a specific type of service, and you pay more for the service and you get less channels. And it's not, and I think it's a licensing problem in Canada. I think that's what it comes down to, is the way that the licensing is written in Canada.
So, Stephen, what I think you're going to start to see is go 2-3 years from now, you're not going to need your Slingbox anymore, because whoever your cable provider is probably going to offer this exact same service, which is you throw up a web browser and you type in whatever the domain is. For me, it's like xtv.xfinity.com, and it brings up the login page for you to log in with your account credentials. And once you do it, there's the TV guide, just like you see in your DVR box in a browser. You select the channel you want to watch, and boom, there it is. You select to show off your DVR, boom, there it is. You select something off on demand, same way. So it's really nice in that regard, because when I was traveling, and I do travel on occasion still, it was great to pick up. Let me just pull up my iPad and watch something off my DVR. Problem solved.
I did the same thing 2 weeks ago when I was traveling. Unfortunately, not all the programs that I had recorded were available, and not all channels were available for me to stream. But you're right. We're a couple years away from when it could be all encompassing.
And that's really my target timeline, right? Like, even if I continue my regular travel to the end of the year, I'll pretty much consider it paid for. As long as it keeps fully functioning for 2 to 3 more years, I'm good, because I actually think I could potentially use it for some other things as well. That's not exactly, for TV, but like if I wanted to view one of these remotely without using TeamViewer or one of my monitors, I could easily do that. I could get an HDMI adapter and I could convert it, and I could use this, right? Like that's something that I could potentially do if I wanted to sit there and I was on the road somewhere and I wanted to monitor an actual second screen without using TeamViewer, like I did last week when I was away. I needed to see the screen, but just pay attention to it. So
wait a minute, Stephen, you're not talking about tunneling into your Slingbox and watching stuff on your phone while you're driving, are you?
No, because I got my lockbox for that.
Good.
Okay. So real quick, just to give you guys an idea of how old this tech is in the grand scheme of things, like Stephen mentioned at the top of the show, it's been out for a while. I actually forgot about this until we were talking about, I think I mentioned it to Stephen at one point in time. My last year of college in 2007, instead of getting a cable subscription at my house, I had a Slingbox at my parents' house and just had internet there. And how I watched TV my last semester of college is I just logged into the Slingbox client and watched TV from their house. So we're talking 2007, 10 years ago, and it was still technology that was probably 3 or 4 years old at that point in time. So Slingbox is old tech, and what they have done, a lot of companies have then started to build into their own software and hardware now. So it's a pretty powerful tool.
There have been changes, though, Chris. There have been changes in the bandwidth needed because the resolution has gone up from standard definition to HD and now 4K in some cases.
You're correct. That's some of the enhancements they have done. But again, like Stephen mentioned, it's probably going to get phased out here in a few years because, like I'd said, most of the stuff's getting built into your basic cable plan. Or if you're a cord cutter, you don't care because you can't use this.
No, and I gotta say, like with me, because the laptop I had the laptop hooked up to the hotel TV, and the laptop I was using wasn't very good. I actually dropped down the quality. And I was sitting like 6 feet back on the bed, and I couldn't see any of the pixelation from my bed. And, get up close, you can see it, but it was perfect. So again, hopefully it'll work out for me, but I wanted to mention it because it was a fun toy that made me get to rewatch over and over and over Bubble Guppies.
So, Stephen, you didn't see any change in the resolution? Get yourself to an eye doctor with that wonderful Canadian medicine plan that you have.
Don't get me started on that.
Or just get yourself some fancy shades like the Rebel has.
So, you got any questions for me about it, Stargate Pioneer? I know you're traveling quite a bit. And again, I really liked it. And I could see you using it. And I'm trying to, for the audio listener, make my Slingbox reflect back to the monitor so I can match SP's amazing sunglasses.
I do have a question. So you're saying in order to use it, you have to have 2 snakes facing each other.
No, you don't have to. But there's a little IR blaster that comes with it. So then you don't need to have the snakes facing each other. They can actually face away.
I think I out-geeked Chris there. What I was talking about was Conan the Barbarian quote there.
I know what you're talking about.
Oh, I think Chris did because he didn't say anything about it. He didn't even laugh.
Maybe it wasn't funny.
Just do a laugh. Just make the Rebel.
There you go. Because everything the Rebel says is funny when he wants it to be.
All right. Well, that is taking us to the end of the show. Before we wrap up, we'll just go around the table, take a moment here to plug and promote and do whatever we would like to do. And I'm going to go ahead and start off by saying, first off, thank you to everybody who comes by every week to Geeks.live. It's a lot of fun interacting with you, the listeners and the viewers, right within the chat. It makes it a lot more fun for us, and we want to thank you for doing that. And thanks to everybody as well, though, who listens to us afterwards. We know there's a lot of you, so thank you for that. The other thing that I want to just take a moment here to plug and promote is the Gonna Geek Network, because the Gonna Geek Network has a variety of shows, some of which are about to start wrapping up their regular season, because all of these television shows that they talk about are about to end, at least for the season, maybe for the series, we don't know, but there's a lot of really good stuff on there. And SP and Chris, the Rebel and Chris, we've talked about it before, they both do shows, but there's other ones as well on the network that also talk about television shows. So please check that out at GonnaGeekNetwork.com. Chris, what would you like to plug and promote?
I just want to thank you guys for keeping your shirts on during this video stream, as I've had to podcast with people who like to take their shirts off before, and I know there's other people on the internet that do, and it would just make me really uncomfortable, so I'm glad that you guys kept your shirts on this week.
Just this week.
Just this week. Next week, you guys can go shirts off if you want.
SP, do you got anything that you want to plug or promote?
Who?
Don't know who this SP is.
The Rebel, do you got anything that you want to plug or promote?
Better.
Yes, I do. In the show notes, I see that this Stargate Pioneer that you're referring to made a couple of guest appearances last week with the 3 Angry Nerds podcast and the Nerds in Love podcast. So if you want to hear SP dish out some relationship advice, go to Nerds in Love, and just general geekery, 3 Angry Nerds.
Awesome. Well, that is the end of episode 191 of the official GonnaGeek.com show. I'm Stephen Jondrew. I'm blocked and proud of it.
I'm the Rebel, and I don't know if I'm ever coming back.
I'm Chris Ferrell, and I wish I had a cool nickname too.
Nobody needs a cool nickname. They just need to be cool inside.
Yeah, you don't want to be like the Todd.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Thanks for checking out another episode of the GonnaGeek.com show. If you enjoyed it, please give us a 5-star review in iTunes or a thumbs up on YouTube. We encourage you to send your feedback by email to show@GonnaGeek.com. You can find our entire archive at GonnaGeek.com/show. And while you're there, why not check out all of the other geeky content on the Gonna Geek Network? Want to chime into our live chat? Join us Mondays at 8:45 p.m. Eastern at www.geeks.live. The music heard on this show is by Kevin MacLeod of Incompetech.com. This show was produced and edited by Stephen Jondrew of Gonna Geek Productions. Thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you again next week.